What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. A few weeks back we made an analysis on Taiwan Semiconductor, and even after that run of 2020, there still seems to be some opportunities for it going further. But taking TSMC out of the way, there is another semiconductor company from Taiwan I believe is worth taking a look into. A few months back we had a comparison on 3 chip names, and one of these stood better than the rest. UMC won that comparison by taking the lead in 5 different factors. So this is the semiconductor company from Taiwan I was referring to. United Microelectronics Corporation, ticker symbol UMC. They aren't performing great this year, down for 16.32%, and in 1 year they moved pretty much sideways, down for 3.18%. Interestingly enough, there was quite some volatility, as during the year trough to peak there were up for 55.67%. Right now the price to earnings looks to be at a reasonable 13.1, and they are paying a dividend which now comes at 2.94%. So we'll be taking UMC for our analysis. First we'll check on the latest earnings report, then financials and fundamental ratios, after that where analysts think the stock should be trading at, then which Superinvestors portfolios is it in, and lastly we'll check on the technicals of the price chart. I hope that this one will be worth the look, so let's start. So these are here UMC's fourth quarter results of 2021. Revenue for the quarter came in at $2.14 billion and earnings per share at 23.5 cents. It seems that revenue has been increasing consistently. There was a 5.7 increase quarter over quarter compared to Q3 of 2021, and then there was also an increase year over year, with the revenue for the quarter increasing for 30.5%. Now looking into earnings per share, they beat analysts' expectations for the quarter by 1 cent, but they have been beating predictions consistently. In Q1 of 2021 they brought in 15 cents per share, where the estimate was at 10, then in Q2 that was at 18 cents, where analysts predicted 13, and the largest beat was in Q3, where they brought in 26 cents, and the analysts' estimation was at 19 cents per share, so that was the largest beat of 7 cents. But how was UMC performing over a longer run? These are the revenues for the last 5 years. So back in 2016, for the trailing 12 months they were bringing in $4.4 billion, then in 2017 that was increased to $4.89 billion. In 2018 we had it at $5.12 billion. Then there was a bit of a slump in 2019, where for the trailing 12 months revenue was at $4.5 billion, but after that we can find a continuous increase in revenues. In 2020 it was coming in at $5.94 billion, and with the most recent quarter it is coming in at $7.4 billion. So the single worst quarter was back in 2019, where they got $1.06 billion, with a 17.4% of a decrease year over year, but after that slump they started coming back, increasing quarterly revenue to $1.5 billion, or a 42% year over year growth. And after that revenue seems to have been on a continuous uptrend. Now let's take a look into price to earnings. So back in 2016 it was at 14.57, then in 2017 with the price increasing, price to earnings was at 16.56, 2018 price remained flat, but earnings increased a bit, so PE decreased to 14.87, then in 2019 we had a earnings slump, so price to earnings skyrocketed to 31.05, but with 2020 earnings started picking up, which led to the price soaring with it. We had the price to earnings at 16.48, and then with the price peaking at over $11, the price to earnings was at 17.31. But with this year's decline in the market cap, the price to earnings also decreased and is now at 14.95. So it seems there were a few opportunities to buy cheaper. One was in 2020 before the price surge, where price to earnings was under 13, and then another opportunity at 12.55 3 years earlier in 2017, meaning that buying right now would be pretty much fair value for the stock. Next part we will take a look into are the shares outstanding. At first glance they haven't changed in 5 years, but the number is actually slowly decreasing. In 2016 number of shares outstanding was at 2.68 billion, then in 2017 it increased 4.3%. We will omit this anomaly of 2018, but it has been decreasing to 2.4 billion, then in 2019 a slight increase to 2.6, in 2020 again a decrease to 2.44 billion, billion, and in 2021 we had it at 2.48 billion shares. So it's not a huge of a number, but in the last 5 years the number of shares outstanding decreased by 200 million shares, which at the current price of $9.65 would have cost the company $1.91 billion. Another metric I want to take a look into is the dividend yield. So in 2017 that was at 3.49%, then in 2018 the stock price increased, but the payout had a larger increase leading to a yield of 4.3%, then payout decreased in 2019 with the dividend yield dropping to 3.11%. We have the highest yield of the last 5 years in 2020, where the payout was 14 cents per share with a yield of 5.07%, and then in 2020 as the price finished soaring, even though the dividend payout increased by a lot, the yield decreased to 3.17%, and as of 2020 we have the yield lower still at 2.94%. Now I added that information into my dividend investing watch list, so with the info in, it seems that for the last 5 years the average dividend yield was at 3.78%. In 2017 it was 7.76% below average. Then in 2019 with a yield just over 3, it was below average for 17.81%. The best time of the last 5 years was in 2020, where the yield was over 5%, giving us the opportunity to get the stock 33.99% over average. And then in 2021 the yield decreased, sitting 16.22% below 5-year average. Right now it is even worse, as with a yield of 2.9%, we are 23.36% down from the 5-year average. Now let us take a look where analysts think the stock should be trading in exactly 1 year. So we have 5 price targets of analysts. They range from the lows of $7.30 to the highs of $19.20. The average is at $14.14 per share, and the current price is at $9.75. This suggests that analysts expect an upside of on average 4 to 5%. Now let's take another angle, and these are the earnings per share expectations. So for next year's earnings, on average analysts predict $1.18 per share, meaning that if the price to earnings remains the same, then we are looking for an increase in the share price of 13.5%. Now another interesting part would be which super investors are holding the stock, but there is a slight issue with that. It seems that there are no portfolios holding UMC right now. If we take a look into the previous activity, the last time it was held was in 2013, where Oaktree Capital Management sold 100% of their shares, which was at 2,520,000, and took 1.3% of their portfolio. Now in 2013 the stock was trading at just over $2 per share, and with over a $7 increase, if they held through, they would be up for around 340%. Now let's say it was a $7 increase per share, so for 2.5 million shares, they would be looking at a profit of $17,600,000. I'm sure that they did have plans for that capital anyway, but holding long term would have been a great strategy too. Now let us take a look into the price chart. So back in January of 2021, the stock reached around $10 per share and have been moving sideways for a year towards today. There have been quite some opportunities where the stock bounced over the 100-day moving average, with it acting as a good support. That was 2 times in March, then for the whole June and the majority of July, and then again in October and December. And then there was also one time in May, where the stock dropped under the 100-day moving average, going closer to the 200-day one, with the price lows of just under $8 per share. But it has been moving more interesting recently. So on January 24th it tested the 200-day moving average as a support. Then as the price was going lower on the 26th it tested the 300-day moving average, crashing that too, and on the 28th went to the lows of $9 per share. Now for the past week the relative strength index went out of oversold to over 30, and the gap between the MACD lines has been on the decrease. I think it could be an interesting place to start a position, as the relative strength index is still close to 30, but but we will be getting a bullish crossover in the MACD. The only concern I have is that we also will be getting crossovers in the moving averages, starting with the first one where the 50-day moving average will go under the 100-day one, and that could set us for more selling ahead. Now I would share my own position in the name on eToro, but unfortunately I haven't started it yet. On the other hand, you do have the option to check what names I am holding by following the first link at the top of the description. Do that and leave a comment if you are sharing any of my picks. Now let's do a quick recap of what we found. So fourth quarter earnings beat expectations, and they have been consistently beating analysts' estimates, with higher earnings per share for 4 quarters in a row. Revenues has been going sideways for 3 years out of the last 5, but last 2 years they have been consistently increasing. Price to earnings ratio not the lowest of the last 5 years, but nonetheless could be considered fairly valued. The company has been buying back shares, with the number of shares outstanding in the last 5 years decreasing by 7%. Unfortunately, with the price surging in 2020, we have a dividend yield which is now 23% under the 5-year average. The good thing that analysts are quite bullish, where in 1 year they expect the price to go up from 14 to 45%. Those super investors are not convinced, because they aren't holding the stock, and the last time they did was 9 years ago, back in 2013. With this year's sell-off, the stock is now under the 300-day moving average, and we are almost at the bullish crossover in the lines of the MACD. But I'm not yet convinced in buying, as the upcoming moving average crossovers may put more selling pressure towards it. So that was it. Make sure to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. So what do you think? Should we be buying into UMC right now? Share your stance on the name in a comment below. If you would be interested in getting notified exactly when I buy or sell any stock, then consider memberships. By becoming a member, you will get access to Discord, where I share my stock watchlist and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. A few weeks back I did an analysis on TSMC, so if you missed that one, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.